Okay, so I played Manual Samuel recently and I thought it was a pretty fun game. It had some wacky controls, but the story itself was pretty rad, and I'm gonna cover that right now. So in Manual Samuel, you got the main character Sam, was pretty much like this well-off, goofy slacker of an individual who sorta had life on easy mode. His parents were hardworking enough to ensure his future, but his future seemed too secure in that he lacks any sense of work ethic or responsibility. Now you can't say that isn't entirely on him, because there's a bit hinted that his parents seem to always pathologically let him off the hook.
There is a note saying, sent over a maid to make you breakfast. Don't breathe in while chewing. Love, Mom.
I mean, his dad has a line where he really doesn't expect Sam to do anything other than to just show up on time. So they sort of enable him to an extent. Even though it seems to hint that his father would like to see his son start to take some initiative in life, even if he doesn't quite know how to show it. This causes Sam to be the kind of guy who sits around waiting for everything to just come to him. And it's no wonder he thinks that. I mean, if your housing, food, and amenities are practically secure, then you don't really have a reason to try to better yourself, roughly speaking. And he adopts a worldview predicated on that. Honestly, if you were born to a very wealthy family, it'd be easy to think of yourself as special due to the amount of luck you must have had to be graced by such an existence by the hand of fate. And as a result, he's arrogant and assumes the world comes to him on a silver platter, stating that things just sort of work out for him, regarding responsibility as something to be avoided. His parents seem to have infantilized him, and it's unknown if that's a result of Sam's own incompetence or if his parents gave him too much in order to possibly keep him out of the way while they worked. But you can't quite say if they have a bad relationship with him or not. It might just be that they gave him too much while teaching him very little about being an adult or how to orient himself in the world. There's sort of a motif of paradise in that his current way of being can be seen as his Garden of Eden, so to speak. So in the beginning, Sam arrives late to see his girlfriend and of course assumes she wouldn't at all be bothered by that or his attitude. But again, it's sort of hard to see that as his fault because it's said that they've dated for 3 years, so she may have contributed to his complicit attitude. However, she may have tolerated him insofar as that she had hopes that she could possibly bring a bit of order in his life. But those kinds of revelations are hard to bring about in an individual without an ontological crisis being involved. Wham! That's an assault charge! And just like that, things changed for our old pal Sam. For once in his life, things didn't seem to go his way. And from here on out, his life would take a dramatic turn. And it's sort of to be expected. If you live your life with a certain presupposition that things will just work out for you and that there's no need to consider whether or not you're orienting yourself properly, then chances are a snake might slither into your garden and remind you of your vulnerability. To have a relationship, especially one that's about 3 years old, fall apart just like that, is easy to hit a guy like a truck. Because exactly. Now all of a sudden, everything is different. It's the character's archetypal descent into chaos and hell. Literally. Because things like this happen all the time in real life. You lose someone in a long-term intimate relationship and everything just sort of collapses. Usually because when you're in a relationship, the two of you spend your time together mapping out your framework of reality. So the two of you are basically co-opting how you're going to orient yourself in the world with a particular future in mind. And if it's gone just like that, well, now the map of the world you two built together is no longer valid, and so everything in that time span has to be reconfigured. And what does that look like for a person? 3 years of not knowing where you were, and our boy Sam descends into hell. And it's in that hell that you can be assigned responsibility and work. And it's the worst thing ever, because when you're in your metaphysical hell, it's difficult to get out of bed, let alone get a job when you're wallowing in your own pit of unsorted despair from the choices you made. So our boy Sam turns tail and runs away from the idea of responsibility itself. It's too difficult. Life's too difficult for the unsorted. But of course, there's always hope for an individual. There's an intrinsic value in every human life, and the foundation of which the law is predicated on seems to back that idea as well. And this is shown by the idea that Sam has shards of life, which are seen as something of the highest value, because life is valuable. Right! So he's given a challenge. Survive for an entire day of life while everything he does has to be done voluntarily. So basically, hey Sam, I know you're going through a lot, but if you're going to sort yourself out and try to live your life again, you might as well start by getting out of bed and trying to get through at least one day. It's going to be difficult because now everything is going to be a lot harder. Breathing, blinking, speaking, and walking takes real conscious effort because you're weighed down by your vulnerability and the reality of life. It's Sisyphus, roughly speaking. In this tragic state of mind, all the things that were normally easy are infinitely more difficult, and it's easy to let life drag you along, but that could inevitably cause more problems for yourself. A single day becomes your second worst day, and with that, poor Sam is forced to descend back into hell. So what does he have to do? Well, he has to face the demons and conquer the devil that keeps him there. So what does that mean? It means to become the hero, to be courageous in the face of the terrible entity that lies within your metaphysical hell. You conquer it and you become a competent individual. So when you come back to life, you're ready to face it and then make it better for yourself and for those around you. And that's what you should do when you're faced with a problem. Or if maybe you're not living your life properly. It's a nice story. It's a fun game as well. You should probably play it with the controller though. That's what I did. Hopefully I left enough in the game itself for you to try it out. If not, then well, oops. Hope you liked it anyway. But at the end of the day, that's all just my opinion. Does that still apply to this? I think it does. I mean, it's sort of weird. It's just kind of like a different thing. I mean, I was just giving it a shot, seeing where it goes. If it's not funny, then, I mean, I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I thought it was pretty nice. Oh, you hear that? Oh no, they're here for me. Oh, looks like I'm gonna have a lot of things to hide.
There's a lot of things I gotta put away in my dungeon. Hold on. Don't come in yet.